How many Coinbase shares would it take to be able to retire by the year 2030? Let's break it down. For starters, what is the goal? How much money are we aiming at for 2030? Well, I'm using the target $1.5 million to have a normal, baseline, comfortable retirement. And that is based off of the average household expenses in the US currently, and then accounting for inflation, and also adding an additional 15% contingency as an extra margin of safety. And I think it's reasonable to expect that somebody with a $1.5 million Coinbase investment by the year 2030 would then be able to rotate that money into things like broad market index funds or dividend paying funds or real estate, something that is more safe and secure over the long term that then they can retire on. And by doing that and assuming that they'd be able to get approximately at least a 6% annualized compounded return on those investments while they're in retirement by investing in something like the S&P 500 or another index fund, then they'd be able to draw upon that for approximately $90,000 per year throughout their retirement. So that is the target for a basic average retirement. But I'm sure some people aren't interested in a basic average retirement and are rather aiming at more of a luxury retirement. So in order to account for that, I'm also going to include a luxury retirement goal so that we can compare the two. And for that, I'm just going to multiply the basic average retirement by 3. So instead of 1.5 million, the target for the luxury scenario is 4.5 million. And I think with that amount of money, you'd be able to live very, very comfortably anywhere in the world. So with that out of the way, how many shares of Coinbase would someone have to have in order to reach those targets by 2030? Well, let's dive into the numbers because I've pulled some valuation models from various sources to figure out what Coinbase might be worth by the year 2030. And there's a lot of different opinions from different analysts and experts out there, and I've selected a few of those that we can take a look at today. And I've grouped them into 3 different scenarios: the bear case, the base case, and the bull case. Now, Coinbase IPO'd in 2020 and it was trading for over $300 a share. It traded all the way up to $342 before retracing back down to $33 per share. And currently it's been hovering at around $80 per share for the last few weeks. And for the bear case valuation model, what I did was I used the current 12-month price predictions from analysts. So for example, if you go to any of these stock analysis websites, you'll see a variety of different price targets that different analysts have set for the stock, Coinbase. And the low currently, as of right now, time of this recording, is $27 per share, but the high is $200 per share. Now, this is based off of the next 12 months. So some analysts think that the stock is going to go a lot higher, more than double, up to $200 per share over the next 12 months. And some analysts think that it's going to go all the way down to $27 per share. Now, the thing about price predictions is that they're very difficult to get right, and that a lot of bearish analysts will not be making price predictions for stocks that they don't like in the long term. 2030 is a long ways away. However, what I decided to do for this situation is to use the high price target over the next 12 months as the low target over the next 7 years. So for 2030, the bear valuation model is going to be based off of the high 12-month valuation model currently. I think we can agree that over a 7-year period, it's not unreasonable to expect something like this to occur at a bare minimum, unless the cryptocurrency industry dies off altogether. And if that happens, obviously this entire thought experiment is irrelevant and no one would be able to make any money off of Coinbase. But assuming that the crypto industry does not die and that Coinbase continues to be one of the leading global cryptocurrency exchanges and also one of the most trustworthy ones, then I think it's reasonable to assume that over the next 7 years, it's going to get back up to at least $200 per share in a bear case scenario. So let's just use this figure. And if this came to pass, then that would mean that the amount of Coinbase shares someone would need to retire by 2030 in the lean retirement scenario would be 7,475 shares, which at today's price of $77.99 would cost around $582,000 to acquire. Now, in the luxury retirement scenario, a $200 share price would mean someone would need 22,500 shares of Coinbase, and at today's prices, that would cost over $1.75 million. So this bear case scenario obviously is pretty unattainable for the vast majority of people. And if you already had $1.75 million just waiting to invest in something, you probably wouldn't YOLO it into Coinbase. And as we go up from the bear case to the base case to the bull case, you'll see that the number of shares required to be able to retire goes down by a lot, and the cost that it would take to actually buy those shares today also goes down by a lot. But in my opinion, this bear case coming to pass 7 years from now in 2030 would really suggest that Coinbase has struggled and that the cryptocurrency industry as a whole has really struggled. So what if the picture is actually a lot rosier than that? Well, let's check out the next two valuation models. So for the base case model, I found a couple of different analysts suggesting that the price by 2025 could be somewhere between $250 and $350, and that's just over the next 2 years. And these analysts are basing their price predictions off of the prospects for the crypto industry as a whole, but also for Coinbase. And for example, if the SEC lawsuit goes away, or if Bitcoin or Ethereum ETFs get approved, then that will be a major boost to the Coinbase business. And again, these valuation models are only currently to the year 2025. So by stretching them out another 5 years to 2030, it becomes even more conservative. And I think really it's quite reasonable to expect these situations to come to pass by the year 2030, because if they don't, there's been a major problem, a major holdup with the cryptocurrency industry globally, but in the US specifically. So for the base case valuation model, I'm going to use $350 per share as the price target. And if that situation comes to pass, then someone would only need 4,271 shares of coin to retire under a lean retirement situation, which at today's prices would cost around $333,000. But in the luxury retirement scenario, with the same price target, that person would need 12,857 shares to retire, which would cost around $1 million today. So that would be a 4.5x return over the next 7 years, which is definitely better than just investing in an S&P 500 index fund, but isn't necessarily a massive major gain over such a long time horizon. But let's take a look at the final valuation model, the bull case scenario, because I think if this situation comes to pass, then people investing in Coinbase today will be able to get a solid return on their money and will put them a lot closer to retirement. Of course, that is a big if, because the bull case valuation model depends on whether or not the cryptocurrency market ends up becoming a multi-trillion-dollar industry over the next 7 years or so. Now, ARK Invest, which is Cathie Wood's fund, believes that Bitcoin could be worth $1 million at some point in the next decade, and that Ethereum could be worth over 20,000 US dollars. Now, these are some pretty wild predictions, but they do back it up with some pretty solid arguments in my opinion. So whether or not you believe it's going to come to pass is irrelevant. Let's just use this scenario to see what the prospects for Coinbase would be by 2030 if this actually came to pass. Now, as you can see here, when you chart the price movements of Coinbase and crypto assets like Bitcoin and Ethereum, there's definitely a correlation. It's not a one-to-one correlation, and sometimes they diverge. For example, from June to July of this year, Coinbase gained significantly against the two crypto assets I've mentioned, but then since has retraced a bit. But over the long run, you can see that they do generally move in sync to a certain extent. And obviously that makes a lot of sense because Coinbase makes a lot of their money from trading fees on cryptocurrencies. And when cryptocurrencies are doing well, more people will be trading them. And so it stands to reason that if the ARK Invest predictions of the crypto market as a whole come true by 2030, then Coinbase as well will see a significant gain. And according to this article here, if Coinbase still trades at approximately the same price to sales ratio that it trades today, it could be worth anywhere from $240 billion to over $600 billion by 2030. And on a per share basis, that would mean anywhere from $800 to $1,600 per share for Coinbase. So going back to our valuations model here, let's pencil in $1,000 per share as the bull case scenario if Bitcoin and Ethereum and the entire cryptocurrency market takes off to the level that ARK Invest expects it would, then Coinbase will likely be trading somewhere in the realm of this. And so if that comes to pass, $1,000 per share of Coinbase means that you would need approximately 1,495 shares to be able to retire, which at today's prices would cost $116,000 to accumulate. And that's in the lean retirement scenario. In the luxury retirement scenario, with $1,000 per share price target, you would need 4,500 shares, which at today's prices would cost $350,000. Now, it's important to note that these three valuation models are highly speculative, and I am by no means suggesting that anybody put all their money into Coinbase stock trying to retire. I just think it's interesting to see how much it would take of certain assets to be able to reach a level by 2030 where you can actually cash that out and then live off the proceeds. Hopefully you found this video interesting, and if you want to see 7 things that you can do today to increase your likelihood of being able to retire early, then check out this video here. See you later and have a great day.